Imagine waking up tomorrow. You open your eyes, you look down at your hands, and logically, yes, those are your hands. They are attached to your arms. They move when you tell them to move. They pick up your phone, they can hold a cup, they can open a door. But something is missing. That warm, automatic feeling of mine. That quiet background certainty that says this body belongs to me. Gone. Not pain, not paralysis, not numbness. Something stranger. You can see your body, you can move your body, you can use your body. But your brain no longer fully believes it is yours. And if that sounds like science fiction, it gets worse. This is not just an idea someone made up for a movie. It has been reported in a medical case study. A man known in the papers as patient SA was described as having a severely reduced sense of ownership over his entire body. Not just one hand, not just one leg, his whole body. Which is wild because most of us never even think about the body's ownership. You do not wake up and say, "Good morning, left elbow. Thank you for continuing to be part of the team." You do not look at your feet and wait for confirmation. You just know my hand, my face, my chest, my legs, and my body. It feels so obvious that we almost forget the feeling exists until we meet a case where that feeling breaks. And then suddenly, the most ordinary thing in the world becomes terrifyingly mysterious. Because here is the most uncomfortable question. How does your brain know that your body is yours? I know. That sounds like one of the questions you ask at 2:13 in the morning when you should absolutely be asleep. But stay with me, because your brain does not simply receive a body, it builds one every second. Right now, while you're listening to this, your brain is combining signals from everywhere. Your eyes say, "This is where my hands are." Your skin says, "This is where I'm being touched." Your muscles and joints say, "This is how my body is positioned." Your inner senses say, "This is my heartbeat. This is my breathing. This is the pressure in my stomach. This is the weight of my body." And from all of that, your brain makes one quiet conclusion. This is me. Not as a thought, as a feeling. And that feeling is so smooth, so constant, so background that you probably do not notice it at all. It is like operating system of being alive. It runs behind everything quietly until it crashes. Patient SA was a 46-year-old man. He had been diagnosed with a brain tumor near the right posterior part of the lateral ventricle. Later, he underwent surgery through the right parietal region. Years after this, researchers studied something very unusual about him. He did not have the kind of obvious problems you might expect. He was not completely paralyzed. He did not simply lose touch sensation. He did not forget what a human body was supposed to look like. He could still do daily activities. He could even play tennis, which honestly feels rude. My body belongs to me, and I still cannot play tennis properly. So the problem was not his body cannot move. The problem was his body did not feel fully owned. He knew it was his body. That part matters. He was not saying this body belongs to the neighbor. He was not claiming he had swapped bodies with someone at a grocery store. He could reason it out. He could look down and understand, yes, these are my hands. But the feeling did not fully arrive. The paper describes that he had an absence of ownership over his whole body, especially his hands, more on the left than the right. And one of the strangest examples came when he described driving. He said it felt like he was in a shell, a passenger while driving himself. Pause there. Because that sentence is quietly horrifying. a passenger while driving myself. Most of us think of the body as the vehicle and the self as the driver. But what happens if the driver is still there, the vehicle works, the road is visible, but the feeling of being inside the vehicle starts to come loose? It is not that he could not drive, it is that the experience of driving himself felt wrong, like he was operating something that responded but did not fully belong. And this is where the case becomes more than a rare medical oddity, because it reveals something about all of us. Your sense of self is not one thing. It is not a little glowing marble inside your skull labeled me. It is assembled layer by layer. Your name is one layer, your memories are one layer, your face is one layer, your body is another, your emotions are another, your plans, your habits, your voice, your posture, your hunger, your pain. All of these are stitched together into the feeling you call I. And most of the time, the stitching is invisible. But in cases like this, one thread slips, and suddenly the whole fabric looks different. Here is the part that makes me stop. When S.A. looked at his body, his sense of ownership improved. Vision helped, since his body gave his brain something to hold on to. But when he could not see his body, the body felt lost. He reportedly struggled to mentally build the configuration of his body parts, like, where is my arm in relation to me? Where does my hand belong? How does this whole thing connect? This is just a strange sentence because you and I do this without thinking. Close your eyes. You probably still know where your hands are. You know where your legs are crossed. You know if your head is tilted. You know if your shoulders are tense. You know where your body ends and the chair begins. You do not need to see yourself to feel like yourself. At least not usually. But for S.A., vision became unusually important. If he could see the body, some of the feeling came back. If he could not see it, the body became harder to explain. It is almost like his brain said, I will believe this body is mine only if you keep showing me evidence. That is not how body ownership is supposed to work. Your body should not need to represent IT. But his brain seemed to rely heavily on visual proof. And the researchers tested this in one of the weirdest experiments in neuroscience, the rubber hand illusion. The experiment sounds like something invented by scientists who had one fake hand, one paintbrush, and no one stopping them. Here how it works. A person sits at a table. Their real hand is hidden from view. A fake rubber hand is placed where the real hand could be. Then the researcher strokes the fake hand and the real hidden hand at the same time. Same rhythm, same direction, same timing. After a while, many people begin to feel like the rubber hand is theirs. Not completely, not forever, but enough that the brain gets confused. The eyes see the rubber hand being touched. The skin feels touched at the same time. The brain connects the two and says, fine. Apparently, this fake hand has joined the family. Congratulations, rubber hand, you are now on the lease. This illusion is famous because it shows that body ownership is negotiable. Your brain can be tricked into adopting a fake body part if the sensory evidence lines up. But in S.A.'s case, something even stranger happened. He was unusually susceptible to feeling ownership over the rubber hand. And unlike typical people, he did not seem to need the usual perfect combination of seeing and feeling. Just looking at the rubber hand could create a strong ownership feeling than expected. That is important because it suggests that his brain may have been relying too much on vision and not integrating vision, touch, and body position signals in the normal balanced way. Think of it like a group project. Vision is one person, touch is another, body position is another, internal sensation is another. In most brains, they all sit around the table and agree, yes, this hand is mine. In S.A.'s brain, vision seemed to become the loudest person in the room, the one with the marker, the one drawing on the board, the one saying, no, I've got this. And sometimes, when one signal gets too much power, the whole system starts making strange decisions. Like a real hand, uncertain, rubber hand, convincing. Body unseen, lost. Body seen, maybe mine. And suddenly you realize your sense of body ownership is not a simple truth, it's a vote, a constant vote. The brain gathers evidence and keeps voting. Mine. Thousands of times a day. And you do not feel the voting, you only feel the result. But what if the vote split? Can someone please tell me whether these knees are officially ours? That is the horror, real horror of this case. Not monsters, not ghosts, not aliens. Just the brain losing agreement with itself. And honestly, that is scarier. Because we trust the feeling of me more than that almost anything. You can doubt your memory, you can doubt someone's story, but you can doubt whether you left the store on. But your own body, that feels like the last thing that should be questionable. And yet, the brain can question it. No, before this gets too dramatic, this does not mean you should start staring at your hands and panicking. Please do not turn this video into a hand inspection appointment. That was not the point. The point is not that your body is secretly fake. The point is that the feeling of being embodied is active work. Your brain is doing an enormous amount of invisible maintenance to make you feel continuous. That sounds simple. It is not. Every tiny action requires brain to match intention with the movement. If you raise your hand, your brain expects to see your hand rise. That is why when you scratch your ankle without staring at your ankle, like it owes you money. Your brain keeps a living map of the body, a map that updates constantly. And unlike a map on your phone, it cannot just say recalculating route. Please make a U-turn at the next emotionally available intersection. It has to work now because your body is not optional. You live there. But Essay's case suggests that when certain brain regions or networks are disrupted, especially those involved in integrating body signals, the feeling of ownership can become unstable. That is a fancy way of saying the brain was not combining the body signal properly. So he could not know the body was his, but not fully feel it. And the distinction matters. Knowing and feeling are not the same thing. The brain has facts, but it also has feelings of certainty. And sometimes the fact survives and the certainty disappears. That might be one of the most haunting parts of neurology. The brain does not only give us information, it gives information of feeling. A face does not just look familiar, it feels familiar. A memory does not just exist, it feels like yours. A body does not just move, it feels owned. Imagine someone hands you a house key. They say, "This is your house." You walk in. Your furniture is there, your clothes are there, your photos are on the wall. Logically, yes, this is your house. But it does not feel like home. Now imagine that feeling, but inside your body. When Essay was asked to draw a normal human body, he could do it. He knew what a body looked like. Head, torso, arms, legs, everything is in the right place. But when asked to draw how he experienced his own body, he drew only visible parts, detached arms and hands, parts that he could see. That is not just a test result, that is the picture of a broken self-map. A person saying, "I know what a human body is supposed to be, but when I try to feel mine, I can only find the pieces in front of me." Yeah, it feels like a promise your brain keeps making. And the promise has to be renewed every moment. There is a little bit of hope in the case though, because researchers found that simple exercise could improve his sense of ownership, not cure everything like a magic button. Brains are not microwaves. You cannot just press body ownership reheat. But exercises that combined visual information about the body with touch seem to help. The idea was to recalibrate the senses, to help the brain reconnect what it sees with what it feels. It is also adjustable. Now, here is where this story reaches beyond one rare case. You may never experience anything like SA. Most people will not. But every day your brain is performing smaller versions of body ownership magic. Think about using a tool, a spoon, a pen. After a while, the tool almost becomes a part of your body map. You do not think, I'm moving my hand, which moves the spoon, which moves the soup. You just eat. When you drive, your car starts to feel like an extended body. You do not calculate the car's edges every second. You feel whether you can fit through a space. And if someone scratches your car, some tiny unreasonable part of your body relaxes like they scratched you. So body ownership is not only about flesh, it's about control, prediction, and trust. The brain asks, does this thing move when I intend it to? If yes, the boundary of me can stretch. If no, the boundary can shrink. This is why this case is so strange. SA's brains seem to have trouble fully claiming even the body itself. Because we talk about identity as if it is all personality. But identity begins much slower than that. Before you say, I am this kind of person, your body has to say, I am this body. Maybe this is why rare cases like these matter. They reveal the hidden machinery, they show up the backstage ropes, they make the obvious weird again. Your hand is not yours just because it is attached. It is yours because your body successfully links sight, movement, position, intention, and internal feeling into one experience.